Numa, which is Japanese for Dead's Swamp or Swamp of the Dead, is the first broken map and the beginning of the misdirection that Call of Duty Zombies went, continuing to this day. At the time, it wasn't a big deal, since this was only the third map of Call of Duty Zombies. With the swamp location, the first map that had an outside really to explore, and it being the largest map, it was seen more as an experiment trying something different rather than the permanent misdirection with all or most of every new Zombies map released after. There were some good things too, like the first real wonder weapon, the Wunderwaffe. The 4 new player characters were a good, albeit only aesthetic addition, and reflected the 4 sides represented in World at War. They mixed it up too, fighting against Imperial Japanese zombies with unique features like the ridiculous karate walking motion, and the swamp location was an appropriate creative choice. In contrast to Verrückt, the Black Ops 1 version of Numa is much more similar, with the only significant difference being the monkey bombs, which just makes existing problems with the map even worse. It is an example, though, of a worst-case scenario map where it is just easy to train. A broken map that takes several steps back from the original. And these are the top 5 reasons why it is a broken map that is also the worst World at War Zombies map. The Flogger is a new addition. Similar to the shock trap, it kills zombies when they run through it while activated. Difference being that it comically flings zombies into the air. Unlike the shock traps in Verrückt, there are 2 switches, one on each side, while neither side cuts you off like the balcony in Verrückt. Not that this matters, because you can crouch under it while it's running to go to either side. You can imagine how easily exploitable this is, taking away the challenge and gravity of using the shock traps. If you're stuck on the other side, just crouch under, or you can always just run around on either side. The shock traps are used in the same way as Verrückt, the difference being that they're limited to the 4 huts on the map, where the 4 perks now are randomized at. Problem is that they all have 2 or 3 windows to cover in a confined space with no long corridors, while you need to be opening up everything in the map this time around, since the huts, being the last things to open, have all the perks, and the randomized box positions go there sometimes too. Besides camping being undermined, you now have another obvious alternative: training. Lastly, the zip line is almost as forgotten as the traps because you don't need to use it. Everything is laid out for you this time, since you have to open everything up, which brings us to number 4. Dumbed down from Verrückt and reverting back to Nach der Untoten, you all spawn together with the Japanese theme with the Arisaka bolt-action rifle, and since there wasn't a semi-auto rifle, the German Gewehr, like Nacht, you also are just 1 door away from the box and bouncing Bettys introduced from Verrückt. The problem in Numa is, along with more weapons like the PPSH, bouncing Bettys, and Wunderwaffe, it's easy to evade the zombies thanks to the size of the map being much larger after you open up just the first door. Perks you also start to get sooner in comparison to Verrückt. Numa relies on fluff, with the randomized perk that have little to no impact being all the same perks eventually. Zipline and shock traps you don't use. Swamp water that slows you down but is another non-issue, since you usually cross it at the end of a round, only for the perks or box, while you're still plenty fast enough. Then there's the bigger issue, which is Numa is the largest World at War Zombies map, and not surprisingly, the easiest map to train. This starts as soon as you open the first door. The comm room is probably the easiest spot, but it's not the only spot. The Flogger is right next to this area, which you can imagine makes it even worse. You can run around the comm area, activate the Flogger on either side, and even crouch under it while it's running if you choose. Problem with having a large map in Call of Duty Zombies is the impact it has on opening up the map, which no longer matters since you don't have to camp. Players can now open up the map at their leisure, since it's easy to run around even without monkeys. You don't have to worry about getting downed. It's an inconvenience. Someone can always just pick you up. There's also the problem with zombies thinned out across the map with easily spread out players. That makes this easier too. Then you have the impact on the traps and other obstacles. Apart from the Flogger, there's no point in using or even worrying about the shock traps now. Numa entirely pivots towards training while undermining the cooperative experience. But this could all still be okay if they improve the enemy AI, right? Another distraction and trend set by Numa is Hellhounds, which, like the base zombie AI, would eventually get nerfed too, as you can see even in Cold War with D Machine. You probably didn't even notice that they removed the sprinters from Ferut, because they did. Hellhounds are a good addition, but not at the expense of reducing the AI difficulty of the base zombies, which is what happened. That's the problem. If they didn't introduce Hellhounds, this would have stuck out like a sore thumb, and they would have had to do something with the base zombie AI. The problem isn't the Hellhounds, it's the zombie AI is objectively weaker and a step back from Ferut in a wave-based survival game. If the AI was designed to balance out how they implemented the traps, obstacles, and openness, along with the size of the map, this could change everything, forcing the player to adopt a cooperative approach. But as it stands, it is a map that is less than the sum of its parts. All of these things translate to a map where you can run around in a circle by yourself, activating the Flogger trap with little consequence. Look at any zombies community, people tend to think this is always what it was about because it's been going on for so long. This is just the third map, but it's just an exploit for a broken map that started with Numa. Of course, it's the best course of action because you can run around forever. Don't have to worry about running out of ammo when you can technically infinitely activate traps provided you have the cash. Don't even need your teammates. If you screw up, somebody else running around in one of the other training areas can pick you up. It was initially interesting to play because of how different the setting was and the size of the map. Also, people used to camp in this map before they became aware of how easy it was to run around in a circle back in the day. But it's deliberately designed to undermine camping, with spots having 2 to 3 windows without long corridors, while also being the first map where it's possible to train with a 4-person group, thanks to how open and large the map is. The misdirection that started in Numa never really ended. Maps still devolve into training along with the ease of getting to the higher rounds. Today, there's plenty of cool-looking, massive maps that devolve into people running off alone that completely disregards the delicate balance between player strength, enemy AI strength, map design, and the fact that it's a 4-player cooperative game where you rely on your teammates. It's not to say that there hasn't been potentially good stuff added over the years, but it's always several times more steps backwards than forwards. And you notice this with even how people play. You'll have people that will quit if they get bored or if they get down and then they don't get picked up, because you're looking at 10 plus years of this stuff going on. This all starts with Numa over a decade ago. If you liked this video, please give a like. If you disliked it, give it a dislike. Really liked it, consider subscribing. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Agree, disagree, add something, think something else entirely. And I will. See you next time.